Okay, so I want to show you a couple of examples here to help you for the exam. Graph theory part 2. This will help with the homework, but especially the exam. Here's what everybody gets confused about on the exam for graph theory, the part 2. So this is the part 2 again, notice. So what people get confused about is, let's go through, there's 3 different algorithms or methods we do. One of them is nearest neighbor. This is method number 1. Number 2, we come down here, is repetitive nearest neighbor. That's a different method. And then number 3, cheapest link, or also called sorted edges. Okay, so you've got to really recognize those words. It makes all the difference in the world. Let me show you. So how do we do nearest neighbor? And you look where they want you to start. They have to tell you where to start. So we start at A, and we just go to the nearest neighbor, meaning lowest number road each time until we've made a loop. So we're starting at A. Where's A? Here it is. Start at A. So look at the options from A. It can go 8 to go to F would cost you 8. So it's a 8 minutes from A to F. These are maybe places around town. From, that what we're doing here in part 2 is we're figuring out what's the cheapest way. Say it's Amazon or FedEx or UPS, and they're trying to deliver packages to several spots around town. They want to plan the easiest way to get around town with the lowest cost, the least number of miles to get around town, to deliver packages to every point, A, B, C, right? They got to go to A, B, C, D, E, and F. They got to go to all the points and deliver these packages starting at A, and then they got to come back home to A. So they've got to make a loop, what we call a circuit, and they've got to start and end at A. That's what they said right here. They could pick any letter to be your starting and ending point. They've got to make a loop, and they want to do it in the cheapest way possible. So this is exactly real life what UPS, Amazon, FedEx care about. It's big dollars. They write computer programs, hire math and science people to help them save money on their routes every day. It's big dollars. So how do we do that? So A could go, what are the options? To F, that cost 8. To E would be 7. To D would be 6. To C would be 12. To B would be 15. What's the lowest number? D, right? The 6. Now, don't look at how things look. You might say, well, no, A to D, that's far away. No, don't look at how things look. Just look at the numbers. That's all that matters. The looks here don't matter. Just look at the numbers. 6 is lower than those other numbers. It's the lowest connection from A. So D is the nearest neighbor. He's only 6 minutes from A, right? From A, F is 8 minutes away. B is 15 minutes away. E is 7 minutes away. D is only 6 minutes away. So D is the nearest neighbor. So that's the first step. Start at A, go to D. That's his nearest neighbor. Let's write this down. A to D. Now from D, do the next nearest neighbor. What are the options from D? You could go to C, which would be 11, to B, which is 10, to F, which is 9, or to E, which is 14. What's the nearest neighbor from D? It's the lowest among those numbers. It's the 9, right? Yeah, the 9. To F. Okay. So let's do that. So we're going to go 9 to F. 9 and 6, right? To F. Go to F. And keep track of what we've done. 6 to D, 9 to F. Okay, we've got 3 cities left. So what are the options? We could go to B for 5. We could go 2 to C. That's 1 to E. So what's the nearest neighbor? The 1, clearly to E, isn't it? So let's do that. So we'll go to E, which only is 1 minute away. That's a very near neighbor. That's the nearest neighbor. 2 cities left. We got to go to B, and we got to go to C. Which one of those is the nearest neighbor from E? Well, the 4 to the C. That's the nearest neighbor. So let's do it. So let's go to C, for 4, to C for 4. Now at this point, let me erase some of that middle stuff. There we go. Yeah, at this point we only have one city left, B. That's the only, or point in town. That's the only point we haven't been to. So it doesn't matter what the number is. That's the only thing we can do because you have to visit. You've got to start and end at the same point, and you've got to visit every point. That's the whole thing. Amazon, UPS, FedEx, they've got to deliver packages to all these points in town. So you have to go to every point. You can't leave any point out. So we've got to go to B, which is 3. If it was 300, we would still have to do it. You've got to go to B. Doesn't matter what the numbers are, you've got to visit every city. So you got to go to the last city, B, and then once you're at the last city, you got to go home. Remember, it's a loop, it's a circuit, starting and ending at the same point. So we started here at A because they told us to, and so we got to finish. We got to go back to A. Now that we've been to every city, we got to go back to A. And how much is that? 15. No matter what that number is, if it was 1,500, we'd still have to take it because we got to go back home. So there it is. That's the nearest neighbor tour starting at A. Which answer is that in the multiple choice? ADF? No, not that one. Almost. ADF, ECBA? No, I don't see it. So starting with A, ADF. So I'm not seeing it there. Now, one thing that's important is that we try writing it forwards and backwards, because sometimes it is there backwards, even though it's not there forwards, and it's really the same loop. So we have to look for both ways. So let's take a look at it forward and backward really quick. So if we went the other way, let's see. So backwards. So start this way. Go backwards like this. A, B, C. I'm not drawing that too neatly. A, B, C, E, F, D, A. That's a possible answer as well. So let's take a look for that answer. Do we see that answer anywhere? Is that one available? I don't see that one either. ABC, here's ABC, but then D is next instead of ABCE. And then ADF, but then it breaks away. So it's none of these. But careful, here's the part I want to point out. You see how I had to check it forwards and backwards. Either one is the same loop, right? You with me? If I was up here and instead of going ADF first, instead of going that way, I went backwards, AB, and then just did the loop backwards. Do you see how it's the exact same trip? It's the exact same loop, forwards or backwards. So be careful on the exam. If they have either direction, so anytime you get an answer on the test, you should write it forwards and backwards and look for either one. But neither was there, so this is none of these. Some of the answers are none of these, but be careful. Always write your answers forwards and backwards to make sure that you've checked all possible answers. All right, so that's nearest neighbor. Now, case 2, repetitive nearest neighbor. Here's where people get confused. Let me show you what a lot of people do. They go, oh yeah, I got it. Nearest neighbor, starting with A, start with A, go boom to B. This is totally wrong what I'm doing. 4, because that's lower than 6 or 14, so take the 4, go there. And then from B, looks like 2 or 3. 2's better. Go to D for 2. And then at D, we have no choice. You have to go to the last city, even though 10's a higher number. We have to go to C because you have to visit every city. And so that even though it's 10, we have to do it. And then we have to go home because you got to make a loop. That should be A for 14. And there it is. A, B, D, C, A. A, B, D, C, A. There it is. Totally wrong. Ton of people do that. And they're totally wrong. They're not paying close attention to the videos, and that's why I'm making this extra video as one more chance to help you to see the light and listen close. That's not right. Why? You think that isn't that right? We didn't pay any attention to this word, and he is huge, gigantic, and mammoth. It's not just nearest neighbor. That would be right for nearest neighbor. That's what we did on this example. That was right. But this is repetitive nearest neighbor. You cannot ignore those words as if it's a throwaway junk word. It's not at all. So what am I talking about? What do you got to do? You got to do something totally different. You've got to learn what that method, what repetitive nearest neighbor means, and how that's different than just normal nearest neighbor. So I'll tell you right now if you missed it on the other videos. So repetitive nearest neighbor means you gotta do this for every. So that's you gotta do this again and again. So you do have to start at A. That was a good start. Go A to B, which is 4. I'm gonna redo that again. The start was correct. Go to C, which was 3. And then once you're at C, you're right. You only have one city left. You got to go to D, even though that's a higher number. You got to go to the last city, which is 10. Oh wait, I did that wrong. I better go slower here. I'm sorry. Let me try again. Starting at A. 14, 6, or 4. Which is lowest? The 4. Go to B. All right. Now, which is lowest? 2 or 3? 2 is lower. That's a mistake I just made. 2 is lower. Go to D, right? Go to D for 2. Once you're at D, what do you got? You've only got one city left. C is the only city that hasn't been visited. You have no choice. Even though it's a 10, you got to go there because you got to go to every city, right? You got to deliver packages to every city, and then you got to go home, right? You started at A, you got to go home, A, 14. And you might say, that's what you just got, and you said it's wrong. Right, that's the first option. So then you got to add those up. Add up the 4, 2, 10, and 14, 24, 26, 30. And then you've got to repeat. So now you've got to do it again, and you've got to start at B. So repeat, you cannot ignore that word. Repetitive. Not just nearest neighbor, but repetitive. So you got to do A, then you got to do B. So now you start at B, and you do it again. So if you're starting at B, what's the nearest neighbor? 4, 2, or 3? Well, it's the 2. Go to D. Go to D at 2. Okay? B, D, that's 2. Now from D, what's the nearest neighbor? 6 or 10? 6. A for 6. And now we've only got one city left. We have no choice. Right? This is the only city left we haven't visited. You got to go to C, even though it's 14. Right? When you only have one city left, you have no choice. You have to go to that city no matter what the number. And then you got to go home. We got to go 3 to go back where we started. No matter what the number, that was 3 back to B. Say you have to start and end at the same point. Start and end. That's a loop. That's what it means to be a loop. We're making a loop, a circuit. Remember. Visit every city and make a loop. We want to do it in the cheapest way, or the shortest. Let's just call it the shortest route. Shortest route. That's what we want. We want the shortest route that visits every city and makes a loop. So what does this one have to be? 8, 22, 20. I think it's 25, isn't it? 17 and 20. Yeah, 25. So that's better. That's a better route. Now, we're not sure that's the best. We got to keep going. It's repetitive. So now we got to start with C and do it again. It's much longer. Repetitive nearest neighbor, much longer. So now we're going to start at C. What's the nearest neighbor? We just keep repeating nearest neighbor. What's nearest neighbor from C? B for 3. And now D for 2. Now we've only got one city left. We have no choice but to go to that city, right? Yes, A is the only city we haven't visited. Got to go to A for 6. And then you got to go home. You got to go back where you started. We started with C on this one. So that's the big road. Unfortunately, you got to take it back. See how we start and end at the same spot? It's a loop. It's a circuit. Add those up. That's 25, I think. 25, yeah. Okay, one more. Okay, D, right? Repetitive. Now we got to do D. So start and end at D. Come down here. Here's D. Start at D. What's the nearest neighbor from D? Well, it's the 2 here to the B, and then the 3 to the C. And then we've only got one city left. We have no choice. We have to go there. That's A. That's a terrible road, 14. And then you got to go home because you got to make a loop. Got to go back where you started. We started with D. Got to go back to D for 6 again. That's 25. Okay, so we good with all that. Now, we still haven't given the answer. So what's the answer? I mean, these are all the same. They're tied. Right, they are tied. And so that means any of these three are going to be a good answer. What am I talking about? Well, but not the top one, right? Not this one. He's a bad answer. So you take these other three, and now here's the trick. I hope you hear this, and hope you're hearing me clear on this. This is what everybody messes up. You must rewrite the answer starting with A, because they said so. Right? See how all these answers start with A, and they said right here, starting with A. What confuses people who do not understand this and don't spend enough time watching these videos and thinking about this stuff is they just answer with this first orange answer because they go, well, it's got to start with A. It says right there it starts with A. They don't pay attention to this word. Repetitive means you got to do them all and then rewrite. So what do I mean rewrite? Well, take that B, for example, and start here at A. And go to the right or the left, it doesn't matter. Bonk, bonk. So A, C, B, and then come over to here, B, D, A. See, that's the same loop. It just starts at a different point in the loop. That's still going to be 25. That's all the same roads. That's not different. It's the same loop, the same roads, just in a different order. That's still going to be 25. It's just starting with A. And now you should also write it, remember it's forwards and backwards. So now write it backwards. A, D, B, so A, D, B, C, A. That's the same loop. It's just backwards. Now you might say, well, okay, I get it, Mr. Heron. So why didn't, well, first off, is that answer there? A, C, B, D, A? A, C, yeah, here it is. A, C, B. It's this way. That's the correct answer. Now, you might say, well, how'd you know to do that? Why didn't you grab this other 25? You could have. It would have come out the same. Let me show you. But you got to rewrite it. You can rewrite all the 25s are good answers. You can rewrite any of them. Rewrite any of the 25s starting with A. That's the trick. You've got to rewrite. You can always, it's just a loop. It's just a circle. A circle can start at any point, right? So we can start at A. Here we go. C. You can go to the right or the left. Doesn't matter. C, B, D, B, D, A. That's the same loop. And that's forwards. What do we always do? Then we write it backwards just to make sure we're finding the right answers. A, D, B, C, A. A, D, B, C, A. Do you see that these two answers are exactly the same as these two answers? They're both the same loop. They just happen to have here been started with B and here with C and here with D. They're all the same loop. When you rewrite them starting with A, you'll see they're all the same loop, really. They were just starting at a different point in that loop. So do you understand that? That's what's really important. When they say repetitive, don't be thrown. You think, oh, it says A, though. I've got to start with A. No. In the end, you rewrite it starting with A. But that doesn't mean that's all you do is A. It says repetitive. So you got to repeat. You got to do A first, then B, then C, then D, and then take the lowest. Must rewrite the answer starting with A. The lowest is any of those 25s. So you take any of those 25s and rewrite them. We could have done the green one. I don't know if you're getting tired of this. I'll rewrite the green one real quick. Start with A. Go left this time. C, B, doesn't matter. Right or left. A, C, B, D. Come over here. A. Look familiar? A, C, B, D, A. And then write it backwards. Same thing. They're all the same. All those 25s are the same loop. And we rewrote them all starting with A. So when they say repetitive, you cannot ignore that word. See the difference? Let me go back up to number 1, the first one we did here. It just said nearest neighbor, not repetitive. Do you see the difference? If it doesn't say repetitive, you don't repeat. You just do A and you're done. That's it. Not repetitive. But if they say repetitive, you've got to do A and B and C and D and then take the lowest and then rewrite it starting with A or whatever they ask for. Don't be thrown off by this A and go, oh, I just do A only. Repetitive means you must repeat them all. All right, I bet that horse, that one's done. Number 3, cheapest link. What's that? How's that different? Cheapest link is a third method. It's totally different than the other two. So how's it work? So cheapest link. It's also called sorted edges. It goes by either name. Cheapest link, sorted edges. Put this in your notes. Start with the lowest number anywhere. So you grab the lowest number anywhere, not just the lowest connected to A or B, etc. Lowest anywhere. That's the key difference. This says, look, just grab the lowest anywhere. Okay, so what's the lowest anywhere? Well, it's this 1, right? That's the lowest number anywhere, right? So that's your first one. So this is a different method. You got to pay attention to this word, cheapest link. Now you might say, yeah, but it said D. D. All the answers have D first. We got to start at D. No, that's my very point right here. You start at the lowest number anywhere. Anywhere. Not just the lowest. You might, because the way people get messed up on this is they go, oh, I got to start with D. Okay, 8, 6, 13. What's the low? Okay, 6. No, that's how we do nearest neighbor and repetitive nearest neighbor, but this is different. This is the third method, the third algorithm. An algorithm is just some steps to do something, like a recipe is an algorithm. This is the third algorithm, the third method, called cheapest link. And you grab the lowest number anywhere, not just the lowest number next to a certain letter. You look at it's a global method. You look at the whole globe. You look at the whole map. Take the lowest number anywhere. You think, yeah, but don't we have to do a loop? And they have to go to every city? Yes, and we'll make that happen at the end. It'll work out. But along the way, you kind of cherry pick. You go over the entire map and take the lowest number anywhere. And next, you pick, so we're going to use that one that's connecting A and B. Next, you pick the second lowest. And what's the second lowest number on that map? Well, it's the 3 right here. Yeah. And by the way, if this was like a 2 right here, I would take that next, even though it doesn't connect to those other ones. No, but they'll connect in the end. They will connect in the end, but you don't connect them along the way. That was nearest neighbor and repetitive nearest neighbor. This is different. This is cheapest link. So you grab the second. So 1 and 3, those are the 2 lowest numbers anywhere, aren't they? Okay. What's the next? So you just keep on going up the line. What's the next lowest number? Well, it's this 5. So do that one. That's a problem, isn't it? Do you see that? There's 2 no-nos with the cheapest link. Never close a loop that leaves out a city. Right? We can't choose that, because that would close. That's a closed loop. That's a loop between A, E, and B. And we never went to city D or city C. Remember, we have to go to every city and make a loop, not a loop that leaves out some cities. So you can't do that. So you don't choose that 5. So let me go back and cross out that 5. He's a no-no. All right, so what's the next lowest no? Cross him out, though, so you know you've used him. So cheapest link says, okay, grab the next lowest. It's always the lowest anywhere. Well, that'd be the 6, right? 6 is the next one. There's another no-no. Never 3 roads on one point or city. Never 3 lines on one point. Only 2 lines at each point. Never 3. See how that would be 3 lines at A? That would be 3 lines hitting point A. That's a no-no. Why? Why can't we have 3? Because think about what a loop is. Let's look back here. This is kind of a mess. Yeah, that's good. See how every point has only 2 lines hitting it? Right? That's what it means to be a loop. You have 1 line coming in and 1 line going out. See how A only has this and this hitting it, and C only has this and this hitting it, and B only has this and this, and D only has this and this, right? They only have two. When you're done with a loop, there's only two lines hitting every point, not three. So that's the other no-no. You can't have three. So we cannot choose that 6 because that would be a third line hitting that A. So no, out with a 6. All right, what's the next lowest number? Looks like the 8, I think, right? Next, yeah, 8. 8. And is that one okay? Yeah, that's okay. It doesn't make a loop. It doesn't make a loop that leaves out a city, and it is not 3 lines hitting any points. That's good. So, all right. Now what's the? So we use the 8. What comes after the 8? 13. So can we do the 13? No, that'd be 3 lines hitting E. That's this no-no. Can't do that. So cross that out. Here, let me do this with this color. No. What's the next number after 13? Oh, did I skip the 10? I skipped the 10. Sorry. The 10's got the same problem, though. That's 3 lines hitting A again. So forget it. No on the 10 as well. 10 and 13 are out. What's the next number? 18? Yeah, the 18. Can we use the 18? No. See, that would close a loop, and we never went to city C. That's the first no-no. Never close a loop that leaves out a city. So we can't do that. So out with the 18. Next is 23. Yeah, 23. We got to do that 23. And now there's no choice. We got to do the 28 to close the loop. So there's the loop. It's actually around the outside, it turns out. Now, we have to rewrite starting with what they told us to start with, which is what? Starting with D. Rewrite it starting with D. So I'm going to do that now. So I'm going to start with D right here. Now, which way am I going to go? Right or left? Do both. It doesn't matter. I'll go this way. E and A and B and C and back to D. Now, remember, let's do backwards now. Backwards. What would it be? D, C, B, D, C, B, A, E, D, A, E, D. Same loop, right? See, if you just start here and go this way, D, C, B, A, E, D, right? Same loop, forwards or backwards. There it is, forwards. Either one of those answers is right. Do we have one of those answers there? D, E, A, let's see, D, E, A, is it this one? D, E, A, B, C, D? D, E, A, B, C, D. There it is. There's the right answer. And we did it with the method called cheapest link or sorted edges. So again, that method picks the lowest number anywhere on the map. They don't have to connect up at first. They'll connect up by the end. But you just grab them from anywhere. Starting at the lowest, go up the line. Doesn't matter where they're connected. That's what's different between this and nearest neighbor and repetitive nearest neighbor. It doesn't have to connect up till the end. But remember the 2 no-nos. Put these in your notes as you take the exam and do the homework. Never close a loop that leaves out a city. Never have 3 lines on 1 point. So there's the 3 methods in part 2 of the graph theory homework. 3 methods. Make sure you know those 3 methods really well. When it says nearest neighbor, it doesn't say repetitive. You just do that one easy thing. If it says repetitive nearest neighbor, much harder. You got to repeat, do every letter, and then rewrite at the end with the lowest. Rewrite it starting with A or with whatever they wanted, and then cheapest link, sorted edges. It's totally different. You start with the lowest anywhere, and they don't connect at first. They connect up at the end.